CBS NewsHour correspondent Miles O'Brien is back on the beat after losing his left arm just last month. The former CNN anchor was traveling in Japan and the Philippines when a case full of camera gear fell on his forearm. He suffered from what's called acute compartment syndrome, a condition where blood flow is cut off to the muscle. Well, 2 days later, doctors had to make the life or death decision to amputate his arm above the elbow. O'Brien was recently in Washington, D.C. to moderate a panel on climate change at the National Academy of Sciences. He says the best tonic is to stay focused on work despite the pain and healing process.
Phantom pain, which is really crazy weird, yeah. I mean, it's like my hand is right there. Yeah, it's right there, all clenched up and in a vice, and it at times can be very excruciating. One of the first things I did was look at a piece I did for the NewsHour about a year and a half or so ago on bionic limbs.
O'Brien, who is also a pilot, says that he had to work hard to get away from a dark place after the incident. He said that he is concentrating on getting a prosthetic arm and being able to shoot video and pilot a plane again. Well, O'Brien joins the nearly 2 million Americans who are living without a limb. Amputees face everyday challenges that others take for granted. Now, one woman is offering help.
A year ago, Christina Stevens' life changed forever.
I was working on my car and changing the brakes, and I dropped my car on my foot, basically. It slipped off the jack.
Her foot broken in 8 places with vascular and nerve damage. Christina had to choose between a life of pain or a life without her leg. The decision, amputation.
Being more functional is more important to me than saving every little bit of flesh that I could save.
At work, Christina's an occupational therapist, but online she's known as Amputee OT.
I had my amputation about 9 months ago.
Christina makes her own video blogs. She records informational pieces, answers questions, and even throws in some humor.
It kind of looks like my face is a pair of feet.
This video went viral with more than 1.6 million hits. In it, Christina constructs an entire leg out of Legos. Christina says she hopes the videos show other amputees' everyday realities.
So I just kind of wanted to destigmatize that, to show that amputees are not scary.
53-year-old Rebecca had an amputation and found Christina's videos. She says one in particular helped her with her biggest daily struggle, getting dressed.
Pants.
Nobody told me what to do. Her video did.
Christina wants to show people what life as an amputee really looks like.
I want people to know that just because you lost your limb does not mean you lost your life.
And Christina posts a new video every Wednesday. It really is such an inspirational story, but no matter how big or how small, a helping hand goes a long way. And here's Jimmy with more on how you can make a difference right here on Delmarva.
Here's a question for you. Do you know what it's like to live united?
Living United was when we brought people to the table, people from every sector, meeting in the United Way office to say, okay folks, we've got a problem. And not only saying, okay, we've got a problem, but how cool is it that we came up with a solution? That's Living United.
Living United is making a difference in our community.
It really helps them when they're laughing and when they're all smiling and they're around each other and they're active. I think that that's going to help them live longer and know that just because, they're a certain age doesn't mean that their life is going to stop. I think it's just really important to put a smile on their faces.
Living United opens doors.
Any child who has books, their language is better and their life will be better. I'm just so thrilled with it because the children who are involved with it, they love these books.
Living United changes lives.
There's some high expectations that we set for our young men. We don't just expect them to come to a program and sit and listen to us talk for once a week. What we're showing and teaching our young men is life-changing principles.
And that's what it means to live united. It's pretty inspiring, isn't it? What's just as exciting is that you can also live united and help change lives. It's very simple, actually. Joining us today to tell us how is Dr. Mark Edney, who is Chief of Surgery at Peninsula Regional Medical Center and founder of the United Way's 100 Docs campaign. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we just got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to live united. And really exciting is there is a local chapter.
Absolutely. It's the United Way of the Lower Shore, which is our United Way, and it covers the 4 lower counties, so Dorchester, Wycomico, Worcester County, and Somerset County. And it's had an enormous impact on lives locally since 1944. So our organization is 70 years old. We affect over 100,000 lives a year by distributing more than $1 million a year to local agencies.
So there really is a need here on Delmarva.
There's an enormous need. The United Way donations are, once they come into the United Way, separated into 3 different areas. Education to support our children, healthcare to support the aged and other vulnerable populations, and financial assistance for those folks, our neighbors, who find themselves in financial difficulty, and also in social crisis, for example, women and children who need to escape violence in the home. So the United Way supports over 25 different organizations, and within those organizations, over 50 different programs to help our neighbors who need help.
Wow. Why did you get involved?
It's a good question, Jimmy. This goes back to my childhood. This 100 Docs campaign that I've initiated in our medical community really started when I grew up. I grew up with very modest means. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old. I know what it's like to grow up and live in a house where you are paycheck to paycheck, and for sometimes month to month worrying about how to keep the heat on and how to pay the bills. And United Way supported organizations helped my mom, my sister, and me during our time of need. And so I've grown up with a real sense of a need at some point when I'm able to give back, and I'm at that point now. And I wanted to give back, and as we'll talk about this 100 Docs campaign, this really became the opportunity for me to give back what I've received growing up.
Right, well tell me about the 100 Docs. What is that?
So I was invited by a dear friend of ours, Kate Oliviero, who's a current board member of the United Way, to the CEO organization breakfast, which they do every year, and brings CEOs of local businesses together who have individual United Way campaigns to share ideas, talk about the last year's experience, and make plans for the next year. While I was at that breakfast, several people approached me and said, we've been struggling to sort of get the medical community involved. And so the wheel started turning, and I started thinking outside the box of individual companies, how can we get medical professionals across the board involved? And that was really the genesis of the 100 Docs campaign. The thought occurred to me, if I could get 100 doctors, 100 medical professionals in our community to give $1,000, that's $100,000. We would be the 3rd largest campaign on the Lower Shore.
Wow.
And we have the campaign going now. We started last fall, and we're off to a great start, Jimmy. We've raised almost $50,000 from 71 individual medical professionals and their spouses or partners. We're off to an amazing start.
That's incredible. Now the funds stay here locally.
100% of donations locally stay here in the 4 lower counties to help our neighbors.
Wow. So the majority of our viewers, even if they're not doctors, they can still help.
Absolutely. There's a website that'll be linked through your website, right, where you can go to the website. Our Lower Shore United Way has its own website. You can make individual donations there. You certainly don't have to be a medical professional, and you can donate outside of workplace campaigns. Anyone who feels a need and is stirred can go on, and whatever little bit you're able to come up with, every little bit helps, and it's really been a tremendous success.
It's not that hard to live united.
Not at all.
Dr. Mark Edney, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks very much.
Good information there. If you'd like to read more about the United Way of the Lower Eastern Shore and the 100 Docs campaign, or if you'd just like to donate, all you have to do is go to delmarvalife.com and click on the Show tab. From helping people to helping pets, up next on Delmarva Life, we introduce you to several more sweet faces on Delmarva that would absolutely love for you to make them part of your family. Plus, we've been hearing bits and pieces from the UMES choral group all afternoon. We're going to get a full performance when they take the Delmarva Life stage a little bit later on. Delmarva Life. We'll be right back.